Hi everyone, it's Dr. Katie Larson here in my lucky scarf and my new office. And I'm starting a new video series on Mondays called Meaning Matters. And today I wanted to get your attention, and so I made sure I had a swear in the title, which is fuck happiness, give me meaning. And that was just to be just provocative enough to see if people would listen to this video. But it's something that I want to make meaning more understood and more valued, especially in these uncertain times. And so I wanted to have a conversation about why I feel the pursuit of happiness has kind of hijacked our meaning of life. And so many people, when you ask them just in passing, or you're just having chit chat with friends over a glass of wine, you're like, well, so what does it all mean? What's the point? What is the meaning of life? I would say that the majority of people will say, like, to be happy. But this is where I want to compassionately challenge us and say, is it? Because personally, I have found the most meaningful times in my life, I'm not happy at all. I'm in the deep throes of suffering. And so what I'm going to offer today is, because I know people love it when I'm very clear and concise, is I want to give you 3 reasons why you should just rethink your approach to meaning. And through really putting meaning making and meaning finding first, you'll find happiness in the end. But if your goal is happiness, it might be a fleeting pursuit for your whole life. So the first thing that I want to mention is what I already said, is really the most meaningful experiences in our life are usually when we're suffering. It's when we are not happy. It's when we're disappointed. It's when we're in pain. It's when we're having collective trauma. It's when things are touching us at an emotional level that's so deep we cannot help but make meaning. And I think for 2020, a lot of us have experienced this either through the pandemic, through the economic situation, through having to create a new normal from what was once our dreams for this year and beyond. They've crumbled. And for many of us, we're not happy as a result of that. But what we are now stuck with is ourself facing ourself. And in that lonely, quiet depth, we have to know what is important to us and what means something to us. And for a lot of us, things are coming to light through the rubble, through the ashes of, you know what? I hated going to work. I hated going to an office. I'm much more of an introvert. I want to work at home. Or you lost everything and you realize maybe I didn't actually need all of the things that I had. I didn't need a 5-bedroom house with 2 people. I didn't need all of the things that I was trying to maintain in my life. Personally, the example I have for this one is the time I made the most meaning, but I was the most miserable, was when my dad was really sick. My dad was sick and he was on his deathbed. And I was asked to fly home from Hong Kong to meet with my family in Chicago and say my final goodbye. And we didn't know what would happen. He took my hand and he asked me, please, it's on you now. Like, we need you to keep the family together. We need you to make the family laugh. We need you to keep us sane from fighting everything. Like, that's on you now. And that's quite the responsibility to give your daughter when you're basically on your deathbed. And the heaviness of that emotion will stay with me forever. But that sure as shit was not a happy moment. But that was one of the most meaningful experiences of my life, because it was like the baton passing from father to daughter, because he's the one that always has done that. Now, side note, he got better. And this is something I share with some of my clients when we talk about miracles. My dad, this is not part of the meaning, but my dad sure made meaning of this. He saw an angel. She came and she talked to him in his ears and she whispered, this isn't your time. You're going to be just fine. And when he told me that, I got so lit up, like, tell me more about this angel. I want to know everything. And he's like, she was beautiful. She was gorgeous. She just told me everything was going to be fine. And the doctors that the day before were telling us to get our affairs in order, 3 days later, we're like, we've never seen such a recovery. This is amazing. And he's still alive today. So again, these are not happy moments at all. They're filled with suffering and grief and disappointment. But when we search for meaning instead of happiness, you don't lose that opportunity, right? So if I'm in that moment and I walk away and someone says, how did your day go? I could say it was awful. I wasn't happy at all. It was the saddest experience of my life. Or I can say, wow, something really significant happened in the journey of my life. I was finally asked by my father to take over. And that's a very significant time. So that's why it's important to recognize that deep in our suffering, we actually have so many endless opportunities to make meaning. The second reason that I think is important to stop chasing happiness and start chasing meaning is because meaning is coming from a numinous source, what I call the vertical dimension. And when it comes from this source, it's inviting you to play big. And happiness is like finding an old Snickers bar in the back of your refrigerator that you totally forgot about, right? Like, and you're so happy while you're eating it and you're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this moment all day. Like, I can't believe I found this. But it's fleeting and it's keeping you small because it's just kind of appeasing almost like a childlike affinity for joy and happiness. Meaning is coming from the vertical dimension. And if you've heard me talk about it before, I always reckon the vertical dimension as the time of it's the eternal time. It's the infinite time. We always live on the horizontal dimension, which is our day-to-day life, which is like, what did you do today? You're going to tell someone what you did on the horizontal dimension. I ate breakfast. I went to the store. I played with my kid. It's all of what you can see, what you can measure, what you can achieve, what you can show off, right? It's all on this horizontal. But there's another time that we live in, and all of us have experienced pockets in this vertical dimension. And I tell people that meaning comes from the north in the vertical dimension. I'll tell you what the south is in a minute, which is where you get purpose. But from the north is where you're getting meaning, because it's how you're making sense of all that is, all we're a part of. The side of you that is bigger, that is integrated into the big picture, the divine, the sacred, God, the universe, whatever you call it, however you're making sense of that, however you describe that late at night over a glass of wine of like, here's how I think it works, that's how you make meaning. And if you are someone who still feels like earth and life and you being born was just an accident, then that's how you'll make meaning. That everything around us that happens on a day-to-day, it's just an accident. There's really no reason to read into it. If you were raised in a Christian household and you see everything from this perspective as being related to Christ and the Old Testament God and the New Testament God and disciples, then that's how you'll make meaning. If you make meaning with something that is a belief system that doesn't have a capital letter, but is a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this, then that's how you'll make meaning. And when I say that you're invited from the numinous, and the numinous is just this source that's greater than us, you call it what you want, the mystery, God, the divine, you're making meaning by this beckon or summon or call that is coming from what I say is the north of the vertical dimension. Like even me, I'm creating a course that I'll tell everybody about. It's called Meaning Quest. It's a freaking beckon from the north of like, Katie, come on, let's go. Like, you got to get this in order. And it's a call, it's a summon, it's what you're meant to be doing, which is the south, which is your purpose, but from a divine source. I'll talk real quickly about the South because I do think that's just as important. But the South is, if the North is all there is, the South is all you are. And all you are is what I call your soul. You could call it your psyche, your persona. It's your gifts. It's what you were born with. It's your tendencies. It's your shadows. It's your light side. It's the way you enact your living in this world. And the South gives us our purpose, meaning we recognize, you know what, I'm really good at public speaking. And so whatever call I'm getting from the North, I need to enact it through myself, which is the skills and the mindset and the abilities to enact my purpose. And so the relationship of this vertical dimension is something I always share with my clients, and I live very fully in, because I want everyone to experience pockets that are stretched longer and longer and longer in this vertical dimension, because it's so pure and beautiful and wonderful, but you can't live there. We live on the horizontal. And so I help people understand how to stretch those pockets. But the point of this second topic is, when you are, instead of actually chasing happiness and you're just chasing meaning, and you're trying to understand meaning, you're going to play big and you're going to show up in the world how you're meant to show up. And the third reason I think it's important to fuck happiness and just really chase meaning is, meaning allows us to transcend uncertainty, transcend suffering, transcend grief, transcend all of these really messy, annoying, loud distractions, and grow and mature and develop and continue our journey. And that is why we're here, right? Like, if we're only chasing happiness, happiness is getting a new follower on Instagram. Happiness is, you know, a momentary smile from a stranger. Happiness is finally getting, you know, the new car that you wanted. But it always is fleeting, always. But by chasing meaning, especially in the uncertain times that it's really freaking hard to find happiness in, you're not engaging with these emotions in order to sit in disappointment and sit in grief and sit in pity. You transcend it, and you're looking down at yourself interacting with these emotions, and you're recognizing, wow, I'm really grieving the fact that I can't travel this year to see my family. What does that mean? It means I love having really close connected relationships with my loved ones. And that's important for you to understand, to grow, and to create a life that's based on that meaning. Or I'm having a pity party because nobody invited me to this new social distancing, everybody's wearing masks, whatever thing. What does that mean for me? Well, I need relationships with people to feel like I have meaning, to feel like I have purpose, to feel connected. I'm lonely. I need that. So I need to build more of that into my life. And so again, when we are chasing meaning instead of happiness, you can transcend all of these distracting emotions, these fleeting emotions, good and bad, to really sink your teeth into your journey up to this point and what's important to you and how you make sense and how you make meaning about things. And I want to just end by saying, it's not like I'm against happiness, you know? I'm not like, fuck happiness, like, who needs it? Good riddance. Be happy, because by doing what I'm just describing, you'll be happy, right? So like, by recognizing like it's really important for me to have family in my life, I'm going to now do everything I can to create a life where there's more family. You'll have lasting, less fleeting happiness and meaningful happiness, because you sat and took the time to figure it out. I said a couple minutes ago, we are now in a moment where all of our hopes and dreams have crashed, and now we have to sift through the rubble and be alone with ourselves. And I'm sure everybody is familiar with that study where like people were asked to like sit in a room by themselves, and they could either like sit and be lonely and do nothing, or they could electrocute themselves. And it was like over 50% of the people electrocuted themselves because it was something to do. It was a distraction. So I guess what I'm asking, my call to action is, don't electrocute yourself. Don't jump back on that dopamine kick of Instagram and have a like. Don't try to get distracted by meaningless pursuits of happiness. Dig a little deeper. Make more sense of your experience in the moment. Make meaning and allow yourself a sustainable, happy life going forward. Thanks for listening today. This is my first Monday Meaning Matters chat. I'm launching something called Meaning Quest at the end of the week, and it's a place for women to come together and try to make meaning of not only 2020 and this shit show over here, but of life in general. And so if you are somebody who is a sensitive soul or an empath or a perceptive person, this is the perfect course for you. I'll link it in the comments so that you can read a little bit more about it, but stay tuned for next Monday, where we'll be talking a little bit more about my favorite topic at the moment, meaning. Thank you. Have a great day.